Hey guys, welcome to my channel Miss Recap. Today I'm going to explain a 2022 action history drama movie called The Woman King. The Woman King tells the story of an all-female military forces that changed the course of history and brought Dahomey glory. Izo, a young charismatic individual, became king of Dahomey Empire, and unlike his predecessors, he desired to change the temperament of his kingdom's people. The Oyo Empire had always attempted to subjugate the kingdom of Dahomey. For 90 years, the Dahomey Empire obeyed the Oyo's commands. Their villages were pillaged, their men were killed, and their women were abused. But the Oyo still desired to exploit them further. The Dahomeans had begun to speak out against the oppression. They realized that they would not be able to end the tyranny unless and until they had the courage to fight for their own cause. The Maha tribe had become a new ally for the Oyo. The Oyo began raiding Dahomey villages and selling captives to European colonists. The European slavers played both sides, convincing African kingdoms that they needed to engage in the slave trade in order to maintain peace and ensure their own safety. Izo wished to abolish slavery. He did not want to sell his own people to cunning Europeans, but he had to keep his kingdom's economy running. He needed to find a way to bring money in and feed the people. He had no idea what else he could trade. The Oyo Empire was investing heavily in the development of its army. The Oyo army possessed cutting-edge weaponry. They had guns and horses, and Izo knew he was not in the position to fight them. The Dahomey Empire may not have been as well equipped as their adversary, but they did have something as lethal and dangerous as an ocean surge. Agoji, Dahomey's all-female special operation force, excited. The Agoji were held in high regard by the people of Dahomey. They were the saviors who put their lives in danger for the sake of their kingdom. Naniska was the Agoji's leader, and she wanted to put an end to the atrocities committed by the Oyo Empire on innocent people throughout history. Navi becomes an Agoji. Navi was a rebel who, like every other girl in the kingdom, refused to be abused and oppressed. The wives expected the girls to serve them in their own homes. They were enslaved, they were beaten and tortured, and it was expected that they would go through it all without saying anything. Navi was labeled immoral and lacking in character simply because she refused to be mistreated by men who came to ask her father for her hand in marriage. Navi's father surrendered her to the king because he was tired for an erratic behavior. The Agoji had been mentioned in stories to Navi. She hoped to be one of them one day. She had no idea what sacrifices she would have to make or what challenges she would face in the process. She began living her dream after her father abandoned her. She began her studies to become an Agoji. Izoji, a skilled fighter, was the first Agoji with whom she interacted. Izoji gave her small lessons that helped her become a skilled fighter. Navi soon realized that almost every Agoji woman had a traumatic past. Some were attempting to flee, while others waited for the chance to avenge their loss. Navi questioned the Agoji's methods and means. She asked Nansika why their male counterparts were allowed to marry and live normal lives, while they were forced to live as recluses. Naniska recognized Navi as a natural fighter, but she also recognized that she was not someone who would obey orders if her conscience did not allow it. Navi struggles with authority. Finally, the day arrived for the aspirants to demonstrate their abilities in front of the king and pass the test. Navi had worked non-stop for it. She had poured her heart and soul into her studies. Navi was eventually victorious. She finished her task ahead of everyone else. The king rewarded her with a machete. After the ceremonies, Naniska went to congratulate Navi. She was relieved that she had been proven incorrect. She saw a great fighter in Navi and knew she was born to be great. Naniska has a secret and Navi is taken captive. When General Obi-Ade arrived in Dahomey to collect the tribute, we realized Naniska had known him before by looking at him. The Agoji seemed to be reminded of her past traumas. Nanisca had been taken prisoner by the Oyo forces a long time ago. Nanisca was abused and tortured while imprisoned. She was raped by several men, but she managed to survive. Nanisca discovered she was pregnant. She gave birth to a daughter. Nanisca cut the back of her left arm and inserted a shark's tooth beneath the skin. Nanisca recognized Navi as her daughter after learning that she was an orphan. Nanisca informed Navi of the incident and checked her left arm, where she discovers the shark's tooth. Navi was able to process the information. She was completely overwhelmed. Navi had always admired Nanisca and aspired to be like her one day. What she did not realize was that her mother was her role model. Two European slavers had arrived in Dahomey, and Navi had developed feelings for one of them, Malik. Even though Nanisca had strictly forbidden her from meeting any man, Navi went to meet Malik after the blood oath ceremony. Malik informed her that the Oyo had banded together with other tribes and were planning an attack on Dahomey. Navi passed the information on to Nanisca, who decided to surprise the Oyo and attack them before they reached their kingdom. The Agoji annihilated the enemy forces. Obe and his men were unable to withstand the wrath of the all-female force, the might of which they had greatly diminished. Though the Oyo retreated and in some ways accepted defeat, they left behind a large number of injured Agoji. Izoji and Navi were among those kidnapped by the Oyo. The king appointed Nanisca as capegito. The king wished to recognize her accomplishments. Izo wanted to rejoice because the Oyo forces had been defeated, but Nanisca was preoccupied with something else. She desired to locate her daughter, Navi. She wished to save her and return her. Izo did not believe it was prudent to send his soldiers to die in enemy territory. He instructed Nanisca to be his rein-maid and to forget about the captives. Meanwhile, Navi, Izoji, and others devised a strategy to flee the clutches of the Oyo army. General Obi had auctioned off the female prisoners. The Europeans were willing to pay exorbitant prices for the women. Navi's escape plan with a disaster. Izoji died while attempting to save Navi. Navi would have been killed as well if it had not been for Malik. The man had feeling for Navi. His mother was a Dahomeyan, and he too felt a connection to their cause. Malik purchased Navi from Obe and took her into custody. Nanisca decided to defy the king's order. She made the decision to go and save her daughter. Amenza tried to stop her, but Nanisca was set in her ways. Nanisca desired to confront her own demons. She had been in denial for a long time. She desired to embrace her past because she was tired of avoiding it. She was well aware that she might not make it out of enemy territory alive. Nanisca was prepared to die on the battlefield, but she was not prepared to live with regrets for the rest of her life. Nanisca set out for Uwada, and many other Agoji and Megan soldiers joined her in battle. Meanwhile, Shanti attempted to capitalize on Nanisca's absence. She had never liked the female general. She had always felt uneasy in her own company. Shanti was well aware that her husband, the king, had always favored Nanisca, owing to her role in his ascension to the throne. She was disappointed when the king announced that Nanisca would be the capegito, or woman king, and she had expressed her displeasure. The feast, that is, the official ceremony in which Nanisca would be publicly bestowed with the title, could not be postponed. As a result, it was decided that Shanti would be the first female king. The king knew it was a suicide mission, and his general's chances of returning from the battle were slim. However, Nanisca did return. She returned with all of the prisoners. Nanisca exacted her vengeance on General Obeida. The mother and daughter were reunited once more. Though the king was still angry with her for not following his orders, he reinstated her as the woman king. Nanisca earned the title of capegito. It was her ability to overcome adversity that had brought the Dahomey kingdom glory. Amenza was seen performing a ritual and honoring the memories of the fierce fighter who had sacrificed their life for the kingdom in the end credit scene. Even though Oyo had been defeated, Nanisca knew there were many other issues that needed to be addressed. The wives and Nanisca had a lot of animosity. She knew Shanti had clout with the king. Shanti was an aristocrat with a superiority complex who thought Nanisca was unworthy of such a high position. Perhaps if there is a sequel, we will see internal politics in Dahomey kingdom after many of their men were killed by the Agoji. The European slavers' egos would have been harmed. Perhaps they will return in the sequel to exact their vengeance. The mid-credit scene reminded us of the enormous loss that the Agoji had to endure in order to protect their kingdom. It was the beginning of a new era of the Dahomey kingdom, and they were on their way to becoming one of Africa's most powerful kingdom. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching. If you like it, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel.